Rational Wisdom, the podcast that explores rational and practical ways of keeping a peaceful mind and enjoying living. My co-host is Steve Can.
Hi there again.
Hello. Steve, would you like to start this time? Because I started the last 2 times, so you have a good story apparently for us.
Yes, thank you, Julie. Very well. I'm a bit croaky today. I've had a bit of a sore throat, so I'm sort of, I've got a cup of tea and I'm clear my voice. I've been looking at a couple of news stories from the last 2 weeks, and there's been 2 very big stories, haven't there? The first one I was going to talk about now was about the awful factory disaster in Bangladesh, where the whole building actually collapsed. It's a multi-story building. All these people were producing clothes for the West. And I haven't actually seen it on the news, but I've seen it on some websites. I've seen some photos of how it looks. It looks awful. And I was just so shocked when I heard about it. And what struck me was that not just that the people are paid so little and they're all in quite poor conditions, but that they're producing clothes for us that are cheap, so that we can get something cheap from Primark and other companies that also produce cheap clothes.
There are other cheap clothing companies available on the home.
Although Primark seems to have been the ones who've got the most attention from this. I suppose they've got this image, haven't they, of being a cheap clothes shop. And
it's like if you want cheap clothing, there's a price to pay somewhere along the line. And it seems that it's the exploitation of these people.
It's so true, because you said to me a couple of years ago, and I think you wrote it in one of your books, that as well, about looking at your clothes, being mindful, going back to talking about that, seeing where they come from. And I don't think I've ever seen any clothes that are made in England for years. They're normally made in Bangladesh, or made in Sri Lanka, aren't they, or made in China. And I don't always think about the people that are actually producing the clothes. I think, oh, it's made in China, oh great. I don't think about the conditions they're in, or maybe that's the only way they can get any money, and they've got to work long hours and they're not very well treated. So that really brought home to me the actual reality of what it must be like out there. And apparently, I think it's 80% of the country's exports are clothes.
Oh, really?
And the biggest importer is the UK and the cheap clothes shops. So I don't know what got a sort of guilt trip about it, but it's almost like, I suppose we're keeping them in business because we're buying their clothes and we're helping them to have a life. But also, we're sort of keeping alive this sort of factory, slave trade alive, because we're buying the clothes they produce.
It's a really tough one, isn't it? Because as you say, we could justify it by saying, well, they've got a job because of the clothes I buy. But at the same time, the conditions probably could be a lot better. And I suppose we judge it on our own standards, that in the UK, if there were any factories left in the UK, then we would have certain standards of safety, and we'd have certain equality laws in place, and there'd be a certain minimum wage and minimum hours that people can work as well. And it doesn't seem that is the case in other places. And we've all seen Panorama and stuff like that, where they've shown these undercover images of people working very, very long hours for not very much money at all. And as you say, it's the clothing for us. And would those people ever have such nice clothing? Probably not.
For themselves,
exactly.
The clothing they produce. I expect they don't get like a staff discount,
No, probably not. So it's a problem, and I think it's, as you say, we don't necessarily have to feel guilty about it. And I don't even know if we can do anything about it, but we can at least be grateful for the people who are essentially enslaved. Maybe that's a bit of a dramatic way of putting it, but they're making our clothing for us. And I think a lot of the time we take it for granted. Not just take it for granted, but we are quite thoughtless about what we do with those things. We buy them, maybe wear them once and then chuck them away. We don't take care of them and give them the respect maybe that we should.
Yeah, I agree, and also I think it is exploitation really, because there isn't a factory in this country producing the clothes, is there? They decided they're going to go out there to build a factory because it's cheaper.
For a certain reason,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. So it's also people in the UK are losing work because it's cheaper to produce stuff overseas and exploit people.
Yeah.
So there's lots of little arguments, aren't there, and sort of philosophical discussions you can have around all this, aren't there, that seem to sort of, it brings up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does make me feel uncomfortable, and it sort of it brought home to me more than anything when you see an actual disaster happen where hundreds of people have been killed.
Yeah.
Apparently there were 3,000 people in the building when it collapsed, and workers had seen cracks in the walls the day before and reported them, and they were worried about them and just told to get on with their work. And they're saying, "Well, we won't come to work tomorrow." And they say, "Well, you won't get paid then. You know, you've got to come in."
Oh gosh, it's terrible, isn't it? And I don't know this, so I'm just kind of speculating now, but I wonder how much compensation there'll be for people who've lost the main breadwinner of their family, or who, maybe they've been caused disability
That's right.
This, and are they going to
Yeah, that's a good point, Julie. Yeah, there's been a lot of hoo-ha about this, and apparently Primark, who had a whole floor of this building producing their clothes, are going to compensate their workers.
Well, that's brilliant news anyway.
So they're doing the right thing. So it's not as if they're just going to be ignored and just, they're going to sort of turn a blind eye to it and just, not do anything about it. So they are, doing the right thing by them and helping them. So.
Yeah. And also, sometimes, unfortunately, we need these situations to happen to people to maybe say enough is enough and we can't do this anymore. Obviously I'm extremely sympathetic and, it's a terrible thing that's happened. And I'm not obviously glad that it's happened, but sometimes, unfortunately, we need a terrible disaster like that to make us reassess.
Yeah, and to highlight something that clearly isn't right or clearly isn't working.
Yeah, absolutely. So just be maybe more mindful of where your clothing comes from, I think, is the message that you're
Absolutely, yeah. So the next time when you put your clothes on tomorrow morning, have a look at the labels and see what country it's come from, and maybe spare a thought for the people that are working all these hours and in not very good conditions, just so you can have some cheap clothes.
Yeah, and that's a really good point as well, because we are all interconnected. We in the West depend on people in developing countries for not just our clothing, but for our food a lot of the time. We do have farmers here, of course, but things like tea and coffee and chocolate, so many things, sugar I suppose doesn't come from here, and so many things come from other countries. And yes, we can say that's their job and they're being paid to do that, but if it wasn't somebody doing that, then we wouldn't have those things. And so, I've got a cup of tea in my hand at the moment, and so I can say, I'm so grateful to the person who picked those tea leaves, because it's very difficult to appreciate that was one human being who picked those particular tea leaves.
Yeah, because it just comes out of a packet, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And we don't see the person, or we don't see any of the other processes apart from when it's on the shelf.
And it's
in the
such
supermarket.
a huge, obviously there's thousands of people picking tea, but there was, in that tea bag, people who picked those tea leaves. So it does come from the hands of other human beings who have as much right to be happy as we have the right to be happy.
That's right, and I think if you think about that, the tea will actually taste better as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that, Steve. I know you've got another story that you're going to share with us in a bit, but I'm just going to talk about something myself now, and that is the 3 ingredients for a happy life, which are purpose, love, and enjoying the journey. Allow me to explain. First of all, having a sense of purpose. So having a sense of purpose, I think, is essential to human happiness. We need to have goals so that we can feel that we're contributing to something bigger than ourselves. Otherwise, we easily can become bored, fed up, or depressed. So Steve, what are you doing at the moment? Let's put the pressure on you,
Oh,
the
thank you.
spotlight. What are you doing at the moment that makes you feel as if you're achieving something? What goals are you working towards?
That's a very good question, yeah, because I woke up yesterday, I'm not working at the moment, I'm between jobs, and it was a lovely sunny day, and I thought, this is the day I'm going to dust all my flat, I'm going to clean everything, and I've been putting this job off for quite a long time, as everyone does. That's why they call it spring cleaning, don't they? Because in the winter you can't face it. So I thought the day has finally come. And once I got into it, I wasn't feeling very well. I had a sore throat. But once I got into the mindfulness of cleaning and going through all my stuff, I just felt so much better and alive, and the time went so fast. It took me about 3 hours just to clean one side of my room. But it all sparkling afterwards, and it felt nice, and it smelled nice, and it gave me a chance to chuck out some stuff I didn't really need anymore, and that gave me a sense of purpose. Yeah, so it's almost like I employed myself to do a job, you know.
And you felt like you'd achieved something. You could stand back at the end of it and say, I did that.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit like when you're not working, you feel, if you go down to the pub and have a drink, you feel, I haven't really earned this pint. You know? When I've been at work all day, it's like, oh, pint, yes, I've earned it today, you know, I deserve it. But when you haven't been working, you sort of feel like the reward isn't, don't deserve the reward as much as you do when you've actually done something to achieve it.
Yeah.
So I think a sense of purpose is very important in life. Yeah, to have goals and just small things that just occupy your time, and the things that are going to help you and help other people, and make your life better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just say that my goal, so it's not all about putting pressure on Steve. My goal at the moment is to launch a couple of novels that I've been working on for a few years now, and collecting rejection letters from agents for. I'm going to upload them onto Amazon and become an indie author. So that's very exciting. I'm working towards that, and I'm really enjoying it. But as Steve said, and as comedian Ricky Gervais said recently in an interview with Richard Dawkins, I quote, "Your goal doesn't have to be painting the Sistine Chapel. It can be gardening." But
or cleaning your bedroom.
Yeah, exactly. That's when you were saying that, I was like, oh yeah, that's exactly what Ricky Gervais says. So he continues by saying, "But I think you have to do something and enjoy it and fill your free time and stand back and think, I did that." So that's
brilliant.
Yeah, that's Ricky Gervais being serious for once.
Yeah, well, he's so good at being serious, isn't he? Yeah.
Sometimes.
It's almost like you can hear his voice with a sort of little smile on his face. But that's great. Yeah, he has a lot of wise sort of statements, doesn't he? That's lovely. Yeah.
So the next ingredient, number 2, is enjoying the journey. So as we were just talking about, goals are important, okay, but that doesn't mean that you need to fall into the trap of thinking that achieving your goals will make you happy. Why? Because happiness exists only in the here and now. Whilst you're busy fantasizing about what might make you happy in the future, you're missing what can actually make you happy now. You need to enjoy the journey towards your goal, no matter which part of it you're currently at. Enjoy yourself as if you were at a concert, enjoying the music, dancing purely for no other reason other than doing it. You're alive in this moment, so make it a good one. And I can, hand on my heart, definitely say I'm really enjoying the journey of my goal at the moment, which, as I said, is launching my couple of novels. It's a lot of work, and I've given myself the deadline of June/July.
Ever closer.
Yeah. To learn how to market self-published books, and to sort of do a bit of networking, and also to actually write the books, which I suppose I now see as my product, you know, and I want them to be absolutely perfect.
Your brand, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, working on the Julie Farrell brand. Yeah. But I am really enjoying it. I go to bed absolutely knackered every night, but I have a smile on my face.
That's great. So, and also with your journey, what I like about it was it hasn't been this sort of upward journey that everything's got better. You've had these rejections, and maybe round about after Christmas time, you got quite down on it, didn't you? Because it wasn't going anywhere. It sort of got to the state of flux. And then where do I go now? And then you suddenly latched onto this idea of doing online publishing, and discovered this whole new world, didn't you? Where it seems to be a very popular thing now, and it really works, and it gets authors exposure. and people buy the books, and they're very popular.
Yeah, exactly. And I've actually discovered a whole community of other indie authors. So I've met loads of new friends online, which is really nice in contact. All my best friends or anything, but they're contacts and I enjoy communicating with them. So, I've met new people as well, which is really, really exciting.
Yeah, and I like one thing you said to me a while ago with authors, they don't mind helping each other and giving each other advice because people will always buy books.
Yeah, because,
and every book's different.
Yeah, exactly. So even if we're in the same genre, my genre is romantic comedy. Another romantic comedy author, it's okay if we both target our books at the same person, same reader, because that reader will probably enjoy both of those books, so we can support each other. Which is really nice. It's a really nice community.
And that's the whole joy of books, isn't it? Because people always want more books.
Yeah.
And if they like one genre, they want another book from that genre that's as good as that one. Yeah. So it's sort of a self-serving industry, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great.
And then you cut out the publisher and the agent part of it.
Yeah.
Why have that when you don't need it? Why have to wait for their approval?
Yeah.
When you can just do it by yourself?
Well, it does seem really crazy. I'm not going to go too much into publishing. I know it's probably quite boring for some people, but the way that traditional publishing works, as it's pretty obvious, is that books get printed. So say your book gets taken by a publisher, they'll print maybe a couple of thousand of your books, and then they have to try to sell them to bookshops. I know, what's a bookshop?
And then one of those for a while.
Yeah, not in Maidenhead anyway. And then the books, some of them get sold. Most of them, to be honest, don't, and so they have to go back to the publisher and then pulsed and recycled. And that costs a lot of money, not to just print them, but to distribute them all around the country. Whereas if you're uploading an ebook or even with a physical traditional book, print book, on Amazon they have what they call print on demand. So you can just buy one copy of a book and it gets printed.
Yeah, it just gets printed when a sale is made, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The same with t-shirts apparently, isn't it? And other things online.
Yeah.
Which I didn't realise. You sort of think of a factory with loads of boxes of t-shirts waiting to be sold in the old-fashioned way, but it's not, is it? It's all this on-demand stuff, which is great because it means there's no storage space. Cuts down on the cost.
Yeah, it's much better for the environment.
Yeah,
as well.
Books aren't being pulped, that aren't being sold.
Yeah.
So it just seems to make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm not saying that I never want a traditional publishing contract, but I can definitely see that this is a good way to go. So yeah, I'm very optimistic. I'm enjoying my journey. So the third ingredient for a happy life is, this may not surprise you if you know me quite well, or even not very well, is love.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. Our normal idea of love is the other person making us happy. Saying I love you is like saying I enjoy you, as if they were a bar of chocolate. We assess what pleasure we can gain from them, and then we release our love if we think that there's enough pleasure to be gained from them. But you don't have to sit around waiting for love to appear. You can generate love whenever you want by focusing your mind on it. We've done this before on this podcast, but we'll do it again because it's definitely a great exercise. Try purposely thinking about the people you love and just allow those warm feelings to arise. Don't let your mind take you off into complaining about them, as usual. Just dwell on their good qualities. Remember how kind they are and how precious. If you do this, even once but regularly, your behaviour will actually change towards those people in your life. You'll treat them with more kindness and respect because of the warm feelings that love brings. You'll start to want them to be happy simply because you love them. And this makes you feel happier. So loving for the sake of loving is actually good for you as well as everyone else around you.
Win-win situation.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, to quote the lovely George Harrison, the late George Harrison, when he sang the line, "With our love we can save the world," I expect he was probably thinking along those lines. That at times life is hard and painful and full of problems. It's painful for everybody and it's full of problems for everybody. But whenever you're feeling miserable, just sit back and think about the people you love. lose yourself in them and cherish them, and it will pull you out of the doldrums. The mind of love will protect you from misery. I feel centered and secure when I feel love. Everything's just much better and easier, really, isn't it? And when I do things with a peaceful mind without all the drama, it's just much better for everyone. And just think, if everybody did this, if everybody meditated on love, so I don't mean to use the word meditation, I know that freaks some people out, but that is what you're doing, you're focusing on an object, which is love. If everybody focused on love, say, for 5 minutes every morning.
Just bring it into their sort of, into their mind and their awareness, and just forget about the problems and the things they're doing that day, and just think about that.
Just thinking about love. Thoughts. Yeah, it would just be beautiful if everybody did that,
And then you'd treat people better, wouldn't you? The first person you meet.
You'd be like, hello, good morning.
People are very grumpy in the morning, aren't they? There's not people around here naming any names, but they can be. And I think if you did a meditation on love in the morning, just for 5 minutes or even for a minute, then you may sort of treat people with more respect. And be less grouchy. And then you might get the same reaction from them. So.
And our brains are very plastic, like neuroscientists tell us. And so your brain is basically what you do with it. And so if you think about how horrible somebody is and how much they've let you down and hurt you, then that it's like when you're plowing a field, you get that furrow. It's like that, isn't it, in your brain? I think they call it neural pathways or something like that. Whereas if you do that with love and gratitude, then that's what you'll naturally start to think in that way. You'll be more inclined to think like that, which is really beautiful.
And I think other people pick up on it, don't they? And it's more like they're going to react more positively to you if you're radiating all this love.
Absolutely, yeah, it's true, definitely. So I hope that inspires you to create a sense of purpose without being attached to the outcomes. You can enjoy each moment of this precious journey of life. It's very short, so get out there and live it. Steve, what was your other story that you wanted to...
Well, we talk about love, I thought we ought to talk about football.
I know, it's getting far too girly, isn't it?
It is really, yeah.
Let's be a bit blokey.
So, yes. So here are the results. Not really.
Reading got relegated, didn't they?
Yes, Reading, my local team got relegated, yeah. So
Sorry, Steve.
I had to bring up some thoughts about love. But, I went to a Reading game on Sunday. I went to the game, I'm sure some people might understand this, but I went to see Reading v Queen's Park Rangers. And we both ended up getting relegated from the Premier League, which is quite a sad thing for a football team, And I'm a Reading supporter, but I'm not a huge football fan. I can live without it. I don't go to that many games. But what I got from the game on Sunday, it was just so funny hearing the things that other people around me were saying and shouting out. And there's a guy next to me, and he was saying so many funny things. He's quite an older sort of chap. He's probably been watching Reading for 50 years, isn't he? And he's saying, it's the same old rubbish, isn't it? Every week, the same old rubbish. Week in, week out, never changes.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah. And he goes, look at them. They run along, then they fall over, then they get up, then they fall over again. And he was just saying all these funny things. And I thought, it struck me that maybe just people like to moan. Get out of the system, And I was thinking, what other things would you go along to that you don't like, that you pay money for? It's like, if you went to a play or a theatre production and it wasn't very good, you wouldn't say, oh, go back to it and watch it another 20 times and pay for it and see if it could be any more rubbish than it was that first time. But football fans seem to do this.
Guilty for punishment.
They are, aren't they? Yeah. And it's almost, I think that's the joy of football, is always having something to complain about. But when he left the ground, when he got up from his seat at the end, he had a smile on his face, he was happy. So it wasn't as though he said all these things and it made his life unhappy. It was almost as though he got it off his chest, and he told the team, even though they couldn't even hear him because they were about 100 feet away, what he thought of them, and he thought they could hear him, I presume, and he got it off his chest, so he felt happy that he contributed to a 0-0 board draw that it turned out to be. But yeah, on the subject of football, there was another thing this week I'm sure everyone's heard about Luis Suarez. Yes, a Liverpool footballer who bit his opponent on the arm. And
child in the playground, isn't it? I mean, I think someone did that to me when I was about 4.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. And he probably, probably get pulled up about it and be told not to do it again.
Yeah.
But he gets paid, I don't know, £100,000 a week, and he's been given a 10-match ban, apparently, the quarter of a football season. So that's all they can do, really, because the thing is, this player, if they sold him, he's worth 30 or 40 million pounds. They can't just sack him from the football club and tell him not to come back, or tell him to go to a different football club. He's one of the world's best players.
So that's definitely a problem because, I mean, I know that we're talking about him specifically, but I've heard of footballers who have been imprisoned for rape.
Yeah.
And then they've come out of prison and walked straight back into a contract again.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's really not acceptable.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And there was a player, wasn't there, a few years ago that killed somebody who was over the drink driving them in a car accident. And when he came out of prison, he did go back to another football team because he was a good football player. So it does seem to be that there's a different sort of set of rules in football than there are in the outside world. If you're around biting people in the street, I'm sure you get into more serious trouble than just being told not to turn up at a football match for 10 weeks.
Did he not get arrested though, or anything? I mean, that's actual bodily harm, isn't it? At least
it is, isn't it? Yeah. Not that I'm aware of, Julie. No. It's just a violent conduct ban.
I
So
suppose,
FA take care of it.
Yeah,
They police it.
I suppose if the person who he hit doesn't press charges, then there would be no
case
arrest
to bring. Yeah. But like you say about children, it's like, what sort of example is that? To children. Well, I sound like a Radio 2 phone-in show now. What sort of example is that to set for children who look up to these people? Like, I mean, they're heroes, aren't they? Like, they've got like godlike status. Imagine somebody supports Liverpool, it's a huge football club. Their players are big stars and big wages, and they're seen everywhere, all around the world, not just in Liverpool or England. And for a child to see that you can go around doing that and that's acceptable isn't a very good message to send out, is it?
No, not at all. I'm quite amazed actually what the whole Premiership. It's always confused me the whole Premiership football. So I'm not a great football fan, but I don't dislike it. If England are playing in the World Cup or something, then I'll watch it. And I understand the rules. But the whole amount of money and the hero worshipping of these football players is totally out of proportion. I know that they work really hard and that they train really hard and they have a lot of skill, and I'm not taking that away from them at all. But it does really seem out of proportion for what they do.
Yeah, it's like a pop star, isn't it? Even if they do less than a pop star, really. They don't even have to write anything or create anything. But I know they're top athletes in their game. But going back to the first thing we're talking about, Bangladesh and people producing clothes and what they get paid, it does seem to be a huge imbalance, doesn't there? It seems to be something isn't quite right about the way that money is distributed to people for the work that they do.
Yeah. And those people are probably making football shirts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Replica ones,
which are very expensive to buy.
Yeah, exactly. It does. It's all got completely out of proportion, hasn't it? And of course, I'm not suggesting we suddenly become a communist state or communist world or anything like that, because we have to have a free market, and that seems to be the best thing we've got at the moment, and democracy and the free market seems to go very well together, and that's great. But maybe there needs to be some of what's okay for someone to earn. I don't know. I mean, I know that.
But I think with football players, they get all these agents, haven't they? And they get as much money as they can. The agent wants their cut of it.
Yeah.
And they know the money's out there, and they know that football clubs will pay this money. So they just exploit it for all they can, don't they?
Yeah, it seems to be who can break the world record of being the best paid footballer next, and so they make these crazy offers. I don't know how it works really, but it's like this person's worth however many millions now, which wouldn't have happened a couple of years ago. It's like they have to trump the last one.
Yeah, otherwise they're not as good as that player who was sold for £30 million last season. Well, they've scored more goals than him. He's better than him, and he must be worth more.
Yeah.
And it goes up and up and up. Don't go around biting people.
Is that your?
Yeah, it's the moral of the story.
So thank you very much for that, Steve. Hope you've really enjoyed the podcast today and our stories. If you have any feedback for us, then you're absolutely welcome to leave us a comment. We put this podcast on YouTube and also iTunes, and it's really weird because we seem to get a lot of people listening to it on YouTube, but we haven't had any comments. So yeah, we've had about 200 people listen to the first episode, and it's just, if you would like to leave a comment and press the like button.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, we would really appreciate it. If
But yeah, it's all up on iTunes, and we did that last week, so it's got a feed there now. So each episode, if you subscribe to this, will come obviously onto your device when it's released, and it'll be every 2 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you'd like to leave a message on iTunes, please feel free to.
Yeah, as long as it's a nice one.
Yeah, full of love.
Yeah.
Not biting.
Absolutely, yeah. So thank you very much again for listening, and thank you, Steve, for joining me this afternoon. And I hope you all have a wonderful couple of weeks, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.
Bye now.